week on Africa Weekly. We head to South Sudan, where hopes are riding high on a fragile ceasefire that may allow schools to finally reopen. We meet the nuns helping leprosy patients in Madagascar, where 2,000 new cases are reported each year. And we follow Zimbabwe Afro-jazz sensation Oliver Tuku Ntukudzi as he guides young and aspiring artists through the music industry. But first, a summary of the stories that made the headlines this week. Supporters of Kenyan opposition leader Raila Odinga gathered for his swearing-in ceremony as the country's alternative president, 3 months after an election he claims was stolen from him. Kenya's contested August poll pitted leader Uhuru Kenyatta against longtime rival Odinga, who refused to concede defeat, even after a runoff vote led to a second win for Kenyatta. Authorities have repeatedly warned that Odinga could be charged with treason if he went through with the inauguration. But since the wording of the oath was different to that in the constitution, the consequences of his latest actions are unclear. President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta visited the site of an explosion that left 24 people dead, which included 6 women and 4 children. The vehicle the victims were in was blown up by a landmine near the town of Boni in central Mali. Nearly 7,000 Congolese have fled fierce fighting between government forces and rebels in the troubled eastern province of South Kivu, taking refuge in neighbouring Burundi. Last week, the government announced it was waging war against 2 militias in the east. A surprise candidate for Egypt's upcoming elections has surfaced to contest President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi's bid for another 4-year term in power. Moussa Mustafa Moussa heads Egypt's Liberal Al-Ghad party that backs el-Sisi and would be the only other candidate after all other possible challengers either ruled themselves out or were subjected to legal proceedings. Opposition parties and figures in the country have called for a boycott of the March poll, branding it a charade. 23 African countries have signed on to the single African air transport market, intended to drive down airfares by allowing the airlines of signatory countries to freely access each other's airports. The agreement was one of several key deals discussed by African leaders who met in Addis Ababa for the 30th summit of the African Union, which also included plans to create an African free trade zone.
Three years ago, chalk was replaced by Kalashnikovs in this abandoned school. A heavy military presence in Mundri, a remote area of western South Sudan, forced teachers and students to flee. Hundreds of South Sudanese children are deprived of an education as a result of the devastating 4-year civil war.
I've got no items and no everything in school. So our children are sitting at home because there is no teaching for them.
A ceasefire agreement signed at the end of 2017 has banned the occupation of schools and requires both government troops and opposition forces to withdraw from those that they have occupied. Now local authorities say that some schools will soon be reopened.
By February they go back to school. This is a very good school behind me here. There's 8 classrooms and desks. The children have not been going to the school for the last 3 years, which is very, very bad.
Constant military operations have seen control of the area change hands between government and opposition forces on several occasions. The United Nations mission in South Sudan regularly conducts patrols to meet with various armed groups, while asking for peace agreements to be upheld. Opposition forces say they are also ready to allow children to resume class.
Let us give chance for the peace to prevail this time. And it should be durable peace, not just today and tomorrow another war. No, it's not. We don't want to break, but we want a sustainable peace to come back to South Sudan.
The matter is becoming more pressing each day, as 3/4 of children in South Sudan are missing out on an education, the highest rate of any country.
For the past 2 years, Harasoa has lived at this leprosy clinic in Fiaransoa in Madagascar. Her family hasn't visited her once. After her parents died, her siblings forced her out of the family home.
What bothered me the most wasn't the disease, but the fact that they rejected me. I feel a mixture of shame, confusion and fear. I can't go home, or if I do, they rush to clean the cushion or towel as soon as I leave. It's my family, my own flesh and blood who act this way with me.
Yet leprosy is far less contagious than commonly thought, contracted only by close, frequent contact with a person who hasn't been treated. Even so, now Harisoa's only family are the nuns who manage the clinic and the other patients she lives with. The nuns built a village near the clinic in the 1960s, so relatives of patients could visit and keep them company. But half of the 40 people battling the condition here have been abandoned by their families altogether.
We have grandfathers here, for example, who never had a single visit and they asked to stay here till the end. The young ones, on the other hand, we prepare them to return to their families and their home as soon as they start their treatments, because they can still accomplish a lot during their lives.
Dès leur arrivée à l'hôpital, parce qu'ils ont encore beaucoup de chances de refaire la vie.
Leah Zaf has lived in the village with his wife and 3 kids since he started treatment 6 months ago. Thanks to the support of loved ones, he sought help before his condition became too serious.
My dad's family pushed me to come here before it was too late because some of my relatives already have leprosy. So I didn't argue. I was too scared that if I waited, they would cut off my leg.
Fear of stigma, shame, poverty and isolation are some of the reasons many patients wait before seeking help. But this can lead to irreversible leprosy symptoms, which is why early intervention is key.
Oliver Tuku Mtukudzi is a Zimbabwean Afro-jazz icon. At the age of 65, he has 66 albums under his belt, yet still maintains music is not his career, but a part of him. The self-taught musician runs a unique music center in his home country. Named Pakare Paye, which translates as same old place, it's not a conventional music academy.
We don't have a training because this is not a school. We don't deal with education here. We deal with talent. We're different from a college. College says, hey, you don't know, come. We will teach you. But we don't say that. We say, hey, you've got it. Come, let's learn from you.
Tuku calls it an arts village. It has neither teachers nor a set curriculum. And importantly, there are no tuition fees. The idea of setting up an arts center came to him when he realized the problems he faced in the 1970s hadn't gone away. Many Zimbabwean parents don't see the arts as a stable profession, preferring their kids to go into more traditional careers like law or medicine.
They didn't want me to practice any guitar during school lessons or during homework. So I used to go out there and practice my guitar, borrow the guitar from friends, practice there outside. And I come home.
It was to help musicians like Rodwell that Tuku opened Pakare Paye in 2004, and he continues to self-fund it to this day. Set on a 3-hectare plot and equipped with a recording studio and multiple indoor and outdoor stages, the centre has been the starting point for many up-and-coming careers.
It's a free platform to be practicing, to be learning. So that's when Dr. Oliver discovered me. And he said, you know what, you have a very beautiful voice, but we want to nurture that. So he took time with me, he was training me, we had sessions, and that's how I got to join the band.
Tuku continues to perform and is set to launch a new album in February of 2018. He refuses to be changed by fame. He says for him, it's all about the music.
The first all-women's football tournament in Chad kicked off in the capital N'Djamena on Sunday. Backed by UNICEF, organisers say the event is about more than just sport.
This tournament has a wider purpose of allowing everyone to become aware that they should let girls go to school, let girls play, not to practice FGM, so girls are in good health and can play sports, and especially to let them reach the age of majority before marrying them off.
Next week, we hear from the South Africans researching the growing threats facing the world's most poached mammal, the pangolin. That's all from us at Africa Weekly. Until next week.